Lobotomy, 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 lobotomy. Yeah. Da 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 da. Da 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 D D D to the Java me. Now I am a real sickie. Guess I have to break the news that I've got no mind to lose. Gonna get a PhD, cause I'm a teenage lobotomy. Dun 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 dun. Welcome to the show. Welcome to tonight's show. Hello. Hello, we're talking about the Ramones. We're talking about the Ramones tonight. Yeah, baby. Let me tell you, I got a lot of time to make up for. It's pretty late in the season, and by season I mean the month of January. But here we are. We're doing the best I can. Maybe it's not quantity, but it's definitely going to be quality. Quality. We're talking about the Ramones tonight, and I have to tell you that I have a very special interview that is soon to unroll on this channel. Some people know what the interview is already. It's a really good one. It is a really long one. The shorter version is going to come out first, and the Patreons and the YouTube members, they'll get to see the longer version, the 3-hour version, and the 90-minute version will come out, and then eventually the 3-hour version will come out as well. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but let me just tell you, it is it doesn't get more inside than this in this day and age in 2025. It doesn't get more inside than this in regards to a very, very iconic, famous punk band. And that's all I can tell you. I can't say any more. Wonderful conversation. Really, really, really pleased. So keep your eyes peeled. That's going to be on this channel. But tonight, we're talking about the Ramones' history. And we've examined a lot of different aspects of the Ramones' history. But there's like this little sort of pocket. There's this little pocket that I kind of want to dive into. And it is the rise and fall of Elvis Ramone. Who is Elvis Ramone? We've heard there's lots of different Ramones. There's Richie Ramone, there's Johnny Ramone, there's Joey Ramone, there's Dee Dee Ramone, there's Marky Ramone, there's Tommy Ramone, there's CJ Ramone. But who's Elvis Ramone? He's probably the least known. Well, I wouldn't say he's the least known Ramone, but definitely, you have to be really into the Ramones, or you have to be very familiar with the Ramones' history to be familiar with Elvis Ramone. Elvis Ramone has another name, and that is Clem Burke. Clem Burke is the drummer for Blondie. And Blondie started in the same year that the Ramones did, 1974. Clem Burke came into Blondie in some point in 1975. And I mean, he is the drummer of Blondie. Whoever the founding guy is, he doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about Blondie to take away or give accolades in one way or another. All I could say is when you think about Blondie, I mean, the Blondie is synonymous with Clem Burke, is that's their drummer, right? But for a brief period of time in the late 80s, Clem Burke changed his name to Elvis Ramone and joined the Ramones, where he played a couple of shows, two shows with the Ramones before going his separate ways. And we're going to look at the who, the how, the what, the where, and the why. But before we do that, we need to kind of take a look at two important factors before we dive into the history of this. And the first thing that we need to look at is the Ramones, the various Ramones lineups, and how, there were a bunch of, changeovers, but it seemed that with every changeover, the Ramones are one of those rare bands where every single member of the Ramones is embraced and loved. Like there's nobody out there I mean, I'm speaking very hyperbolesquely. I'm speaking with hyperbole here. Maybe I'm making a gross generalization here. But as far as I know, being a Ramones fan, and I would say, you know, I'm not like a diehard Ramones fan, but I'm a well-versed, passionate Ramones fan. I love the Ramones deeply, and I appreciate them for who and what they are. And I've read a lot about the Ramones. And I would say that there's hardly any Ramones fans or like, you know, whoever in the, I don't even know, but Ramones fans have their like own fan club name, like what, the Pinhead Army or something. I don't know. There's nobody out there whoever is like, look at this comment from Twitch. Look at this Twitch comment. You ugly as woo! Hey! Oh, sorry. There's nobody out there who is like, oh my God, I can't stand Marky Ramone. I can't stand Richie Ramone. I can't stand nobody. Everybody, it seems that like it's like a torch, man. Tommy passed the torch to Marky. Marky got fired and was replaced with Richie. But you know, Richie became, you know, Richie wrote songs. I mean, he was a songwriter. He was doing backing vocals. He sped up the band. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but he sped them up because he was a fast friggin' drummer. And then CJ replacing Dee Dee, you know, people who love Dee Dee Ramone and love that, you know, the core, the founding core was fractured again with Dee Dee leaving to become Dee Dee King and bringing in this guy CJ Ramone. And CJ Ramone, like I think universally accepted and loved, really, truly. I can't think of, I maybe I'm wrong, but maybe there was a little bit of pushback, but I don't really think there was, man. Jody Ramone is here, cousin Jody Ramone. He knows all about the Ramones. You know, like it wasn't something that like, it was never like a point of contention, it seemed, right? So that's the first piece that I want to say. And for, you know, for those who attended those shows were, you know, you had people who got to witness Elvis Ramone for a hot second before Marky had sobered up by this point. He'd been out of the band for a few years. He came back and finished his career with the Ramones. And Marky is the only secondary member to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the original band. CJ was never inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And, well, Elvis Ramone actually is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but not for being Elvis Ramone, for being the drummer of Blondie. And more on Clem Burke in a minute, in a brief moment. So that's like that's a very important sort of thing. That's the first thing to remember. The other thing to remember is Clem Burke, it being in Blondie, he came up with the Ramones. Like Blondie and the Ramones, they played shows together. They were part of the same scene. They were contemporaries. There was contention. There was tension between Blondie and Ramones, particularly Johnny Ramone. But, you know, overall, there was a sort of shared affinity. Debbie Harry and Chris Stein were close with Joey Ramone, and Debbie Harry contributed vocals to various Ramone tracks, including Go Little Camaro Go, during Richie's stint in the band. So there's some like there's some shared familiarity there. And the thing that's interesting, the thing to remember too about like a band like Blondie versus a band like the Ramones, they sort of deviate at a certain point in time, and maybe at around in the late 70s, where, you know, this is after Sid Vicious has murdered Nancy, right? And the idea of punk as this international household name, which came about as a result of the Pistols. Now, punk is a bad word. It's not a commercial word. You can't make money with punk. And so the record labels are like, there's a lot of potential in this music. We can't call it punk anymore. And again, just because you're a punk band doesn't mean you have a punk sound. And when you think of the punk sound, you're thinking of maybe the Dead Boys, or maybe you're thinking of, the Ramones or whoever, Blondie, Talking Heads. There are all these other bands that were part of that punk movement that did not have that sound. Right. And so those bands with a more palatable, let's call it palatable, sound were more easily embraced by record companies who repackaged these bands as new wave. So that's where the new wave moniker comes from. It's a made up term made up by record labels. Punk, the idea of punk, whether it was Legs McNeil who coined it or whoever, punk is like there's a grassroots sort of energy to it, right? Because there's a grassrootsness to it. I don't know how else to say that, because it came from it was those people figuring out who and what they were, and then like calling themselves that, although they didn't know what punk was when they were doing it initially. The label maybe came a little bit later, right? But it was an organic sort of thing. Whereas with new wave, it's like, hey, what's the best way to sell this music and sell records and get these people on the radio? Call them a new wave band. The Ramones were never going to be a new wave band. They tried to lean into a more new wave style after end of the century, after Phil Spector. They started working with other producers on Pleasant Dreams and God, what's the other one? Pleasant Dreams and Subterranean Jungle, right? Those are records have they're sort of searching for a sound. They're searching for a sound that might be more palatable for radio. I mean, that's what end of the century was too, right? They were always hoping for a hit record, and when it never came, eventually they realized it wouldn't come. I mean, we want the airwaves. They wanted to be the Ramones wanted to be on the radio, but the Ramones weren't for whatever reason. And honestly, there are people we can ask, and I really. It's a question I should save for my next session with somebody, but I want to know. I don't think it's really been documented where the Ramones ever like pitched like, "Hey, can we, call you guys new wave?" Or why wasn't new wave? Maybe it was because they had too much of a hard edge. So no matter how much new wave they made their sound, they were never going to sort of break out. The reason why I bring all this up is because the flip side of this. Elvis Ramone's band, Blondie, they did fit the new wave moniker, and they had big hits, Heart of Glass was a big hit. Dreaming was a hit. The Parallel Lines came out. I mean, Blondie blew up. Blondie blew up. I mean, Heart of Glass is, almost a disco song, right? So they broke out into the mainstream. They broke out of their punk background, and they very easily were able to camouflage themselves as new wave. Now, did they change their sound at all in the process to do that? That is something I cannot speak to. I do not know. Again, I don't know enough about Blondie. I like Blondie, by the way. I have a very big respect for Blondie. But here's what happens to Blondie. I think it was 82 or 83. Don't quote me on that. Chris Stein, I think there were a few different factors, but one of them was that Chris Stein, who's sort of the, I guess he's the brainchild behind, he's the main songwriter behind Blondie. He's the leader, I guess he's the Johnny Ramone of Blondie, right? On some level, like him and Debbie and Clem or whatever. He gets very sick. He comes down with a debilitating disease that makes him unable to, be a part of the band. So the band dissolves. They disband. They break up. Now, Chris Stein was with Debbie Harry at the time. So Debbie Harry, she started her own solo career, which Chris helped with, but, she took care of him. They lived together and she took care of him, and that sort of dissolved the band. And so Clem Burke is like something like, he's like 25 years old or something. You know what I mean? He's like, he's a young guy, and things dissolve. Now, Clem Burke he puts together another band, and they put out one record on EMI. I'm trying to remember the freaking name of the something chosen, something what is it called? The guitar player, the chosen something, or chasing last, or something last. Could somebody Google this for me, please? I need someone to Google it. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But he puts out this record with Steve Jones from the Pistols is in the band, right? And they put out a record, and it's like whatever. And Clem Burke, he plays for other people, man. He's playing for Iggy Pop. He played around. And eventually he gets tapped to replace Richie Ramone, and we're gonna dive into that now that we've sort of come to the impetus of the rise of Elvis Ramone before the fall of Elvis Ramone. We're going to take a quick break, and I want to tell you A, about our sponsor, and B, about my new documentary. But first, let's talk about my sponsor. Riot Stickers is the sponsor of the Frumess channel. If you need stickers, look no further. We have everything that you need to go to riotstickers.com/Frumess. That's FRUMESS. And we have a brand new promotion. It's the old promotion. You can get 1,000 stickers for $79. This is an unbelievable deal. That's 7 cents a sticker. I mean, you're just not going to find a better deal for stickers. These stickers are 3-inch by 3-inch. They're on vinyl. They have a UV coating that protects them from the sun. You can't go wrong with Riot Stickers. So go to riotstickers.com/Frumess and order 1,000 stickers for $79. Free shipping. Free fucking shipping. God damn it. Sharpie, he's a genius. He's a friggin' genius, okay? So go do that. I'm going to play the theme song, and we will be right back to talk about the rise and the fall of fucking Elvis Ramone. But in the meantime, take it away, CJ. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads. We can print on shirts. We can print on hats. We can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality. Quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support. Great customer service and so much more. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
And that is a promise. Amy's here. Hi, Amy. Thanks for the skulls, Amy. Good to see you. Cousin Jody Ramone says Blondie does have some great songs. I need to deep dive down their catalog someday. Check out the song that Debbie Harry did with Christine. It's called Send Love Through. You can find it on YouTube. Send Love Through from the Rock and Rule soundtrack for the animated film. One of my favorite movies of all time. Check it out. Thank you, John of Doom. Checkered Past was the name of the band that he was in, that Clem Burke was in with Steve Jones, and they put out one album. Yeah, of course, One Way or Another is another hit. That's probably their biggest. One Way or Another, Heart of Glass, Dreaming. These are the really big Blondie songs. Hang Up the Phone is another one. Oh yeah, Monk is saying it here. Hang Up on the Telephone. That's a great one. Very, very, very great. Very great. Thank you, Monk. One last thing I got to shove down your throat before we continue on with the show. I want to tell you, I made a documentary. All right. It's not the first time I made a documentary. I've done a bunch of things, but this is the first documentary I've made that's actually come out in some wonderful form. It's called Kuyashi Gonzo, Blood Visions and Chaos Magic. If you go, I've pinned the link to my movie. You can watch it for free in its entirety. It's a full-length, feature-length film available on the YouTube channel. If you could click on that and open it in a new tab and watch my movie, I would love that. I would appreciate that. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit, okay? Do all that stuff for me. Do that for me, okay? Please, and thank you. Let's continue on with the show. All right, so we got this article from Rolling Stone here, okay? For those who are uninundated, this is how we do things on the channel. We use a guide to stay on track. Everything I just did was off the dome piece, but now we're gonna go to the guide. And this is a bit of irresponsible reporting by Andy Green, in my opinion, for Rolling Stone magazine. It says, flashback, Blondie's Clem Burke lasts 2 days as the Ramones drummer, which is correct, which is not incorrect, but it says the Ramones called him Elvis Ramone, which is also true, but fired him after 2 shows since he was unable to keep up with the band. I have not found any evidence, and really there's someone I need to ask who will tell me the truth. I have not found any evidence that Clem Burke was unable to keep up with the band. There's nothing. I was on Threads, which is my new favorite social media. If you're on Threads, come find me. I'm Screamin' J Frumess. Come follow me on Threads. I'm very active on Threads. I'm very social on Threads. In fact, that's the best place to interact. If you want to like interact outside of here, go find me on Threads. And some guy was like, I made a comment, which was kind of the impetus for this show, which is, you know, the thing about Clem Burke is he is a phenomenal drummer. If you've ever sat down and watched Clem Burke drum, watch him drum for Iggy Pop in 1981 during the Party Tour. I mean, your face will melt. I mean, the guy's a madman. Watch him on any Blondie and for any Blondie show. I mean, the guy is insane. He's such a good drummer. And I kind of equate him. I made a comment that equated him, Clem Burke, to being Clem Burke is the punk rock drumming equivalent of Paul McCartney. That's how the best way, or he is the Paul McCartney of punk rock drumming. That's what I said. Somebody responded randomly and sort of incoherently that Clem Burke couldn't keep up with the Ramones. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, he sends me this article. So I click open the article and I read it. I was going, oh, okay, maybe there is something to this, but I've never heard anything of the sort. I always heard that he just wasn't a good fit, that his drumming was not a good fit for the band. The band had a very particular drumming style, right? As we all know. And Clem Burke is a madman on the kit. He's fancy, he's full of flourishes, full of fills, just everything that the Ramones are not. It's everything the Ramones don't need in what they need in service to the songs, right? And again, it's apples and oranges, man. It's apples and oranges. Like you're not going to go, oh, Clem Burke is not a good drummer because he wasn't good for the Ramones. And you're not going to say, oh, Marky Ramone is a terrible drummer because he couldn't last a minute in Blondie. The truth is, Marky Ramone easily could probably hold it down in Blondie because Marky Ramone's Marky Ramone's a friggin' seasoned jazz drummer, man. So like, it's not about that. It's just about like the songs are different and they need, as we just said, there really are 2 completely different, like sort of music styles, right? One being more punk and one being this other term, new wave, right? So let's set the stage. By the summer of 1987, Richard Richie Ramone Reinhardt had enough of the Ramones. The New York punk group hired him as their drummer in 1983 when Marky Ramone's drinking problem became a massive liability. But after a grueling 4 years of touring, recording, and even singing lead on a few songs, he felt completely underappreciated by his bandmates. So Marky had a big problem. He was an alcoholic. He crashed his car. He missed gigs. That was the final straw. I think that's when they were like, you got to go because you're missing gigs. And the Ramones don't miss gigs, you know? So he's replaced by Richie, but Richie is weary of being in the Ramones. And I'm so glad that at least that Andy here quotes End of the Century, the story of the Ramones, which is a documentary I really always enjoyed. That documentary came out Came out in 2004. I think it came out right after Johnny died, or maybe right before Johnny died. And I thought it was really nice that they gave Richie a moment to like speak his truth, man. You know, like he deserved to say his piece, and they let him have it. I don't know if the Ramones had final cut on that, Doc, but they let Richie say his piece. And I thought that was a good thing. You know, Richie says in the doc, quote unquote, I was Richie Ramone when you wanted me to be. He said in the 2000, oh, it was from 2003 documentary, End of the Century, the story of the Ramones. And then I was just a hired guy when you wanted me to be. When it came to the t-shirt money, I wasn't a Ramone. This is after 5 years. I felt I was due. I wasn't asking for the world. I was asking for a little bit of that t-shirt money. Now, what is the t-shirt money he's referring to? Quick sidebar here. You know, the Ramones t-shirts, I don't know. I mean, I think they always sold well, but like, it's funny, after everybody in the band is dead, the friggin' that logo it's off the chain, man. The money, the revenue that must come in from that logo, the licensing, it's just insane. Designed by Arturo Vega, who was, you know, as quote unquote, he was like a fifth Ramone. You know, he was inner circle, along with Mickey Lee, Joey's brother, and Monty Melnick. I mean, these were like three guys who really got to see inside that band at different times, mind you. You know, they all, I mean, Arturo and Monty were there, you know, throughout the duration, but, you know, Mickey sort of, you know, ebbed and flowed in a variety of ways, but Mickey was there before the beginning. And then he was there, you know, I mean, he was their roadie for years, right? And then eventually he left to pursue his own music. I think in 1979, he did Burland with Lester Bangs, right? And stuff before that too. I'm sure Mickey would chime in and correct me if he could. But Richie wanted some of that t-shirt money, and that t-shirt money was, I mean, that was the Ramones' bread and butter. The Ramones, you know, the Ramones sold records, but you know, they didn't have gold records. They made their money by touring and selling t-shirts. And so now Richie, after being a hired gun, is like, hey man, I'm a member of the band. I want to cut. You got my name on the shirt, right? They have the name Richie in there. They don't have Marky or Tommy. And so he wanted a little bit of that t-shirt money. What's the big deal? Joe, especially, I loved him to death, but he'd tell me one thing as we hung out at night, and then it wouldn't happen. So he claims that Joey would placate him and be like, hey, you know, I guess one thing means like, hey, we'll figure it out. But then it wouldn't happen. And maybe it didn't happen because of Johnny Ramone. I don't know. Or maybe Johnny and Joe, who knows? And then Richie said, that's it. I'm finished. I had a gig or two that I bailed on, and nothing was going to change my mind. So they had some gigs lined up, and Richie just bails on the Ramones for the reasons mentioned above. He had picked a particularly precarious time to bolt. The band had just finished work on its new album, Halfway to Sanity. Richie did 3 records with the band. He did Too Tough to Die, Animal Boy, and Halfway to Sanity. And by the next one, Brain Drain, Dee Dee would leave, right? So Dee Dee's still there though. So they had just finished work on the new album, Halfway to Sanity. They had a world tour on the books to promote it. Richie left so suddenly that they had to postpone a pair of shows at the Ritz in New York, and with the clock ticking before they had to take stage at the Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island. So there were 3 shows. The group reached out to former Blondie drummer Clem Burke to see if he would be willing to come aboard as Elvis Ramone. I'm going to take a small break there. And again, I just want to tell you, I have a new documentary out. I talked about it briefly before. Click on the link that's pinned in the live chat. Open that up in a new tab. Watch my documentary when you're off this live stream. I'm going to play the trailer for it right now. And then we're going to get right back and we're going to hear, what does Clem Burke have to say about all this? What does Johnny Ramone have to say about all this? Why did Clem Burke leave the band? all these answers and more when we return right after this trailer.
Who am I? I am nobody. I'm just a guy who is a big fan of the Misfits. And I also am a filmmaker. I have, in a month, a fucking huge shoot coming up. One of the biggest of my life.
I was scared to do it again because the first time I made a movie, it almost didn't come together.
What's so funny? It's just your grandson feeding you baby food.
If I didn't complete this feature film, it would have been the end of the world for me.
You got the shot.
Pain is temporary, home is forever.
The process on one hand feels this impossible mountain to climb. Is this my great downfall?
And you kind of gulp and you go, okay, well, time to climb the next mountain. And that's kind of like what life is. We'll take it a shooting day at a time. We're going to get magic.
It's gonna be like fucking Magic Johnson.
Leave. Get out. Ah!
The anxiety is unpleasant and uncomfortable. The fear is a very healthy one.
Growing.
This tastes like sand and fucking mud.
No, when in doubt, when you don't know what you're doing, just make everything blue.
You need this humility to be like, maybe you can't do this.
Or red.
Which leads me to go, well, I'm gonna try my goddamn best to.
Or a combination thereof. Just go Suspiria.
Wouldn't be a micro-budget independent film without a hallucination scene, right?
You also throw up some nice chunky chunks. You got no problem eating oatmeal?
Oh shit, oh man, I'm sorry.
You look like fucking Ash.
After today, what percentage would you say we're at? We don't have enough action scenes. I think we're at about half.
This is supposed to be the finale of the film.
Yeah, might be right. We might have half the movie.
There's nothing to talk about until there's a movie in the can.
This is your Frank Booth gun.
Shove, 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 punch, punch, punch.
There's a scene waiting to be revealed within the footage.
Take down with the headlock.
Like a block of marble waiting to become a sculpture.
And then no, don't do it or whatever. And then. And I'm spent!
I'm in uncharted territory right here.
I don't even know what we're doing.
A fork in the road. Isn't this what happened to Dante when he encountered Virgil?
Like, I kind of know. I have an idea.
I feel like a failure.
I was not expecting to be where I am at 35. I've never been so broke in my life.
Feeling a lot of self-pity. This thing could be taken from me at any moment.
And yet, for some reason, I'm happy.
You only fail if you give up.
Tonight, we dined in hell.
This journey is one of the most profound lessons of my life.
It was one of the most profound lessons of my life. And what was Elvis Ramone's most profound lesson in drumming for the Ramones? Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's find out. So the group reached out to the former Blondie drummer. So at this point, mind you, it's 1987. We talked, he did Checkered Past. He's toured for Iggy Pop. He's done a bunch of stuff. There's his laundry list. Clem Burke has a laundry list of stuff that he's done. Blondie eventually would come back in 97, and they're continued to this day. But, until then, Clem Burke was around. He was around, right? This is what Clem Burke has to say. They asked me on a Monday when they had a gig on a Friday, Burke recalled years later. It was the hardest work I ever did in a band. Now, here's one thing I will say, and I say this as a non-drummer, right? But knowing intimately about the Ramones, you could be the most accomplished drummer in the world, but if you're not doing, I don't have a friggin' here. I use my fake cigarette straws. If you're not doing the, you know what I mean? If you're not doing that thing, it's all on the wrists. Marky always talks about this in the wrist. If you're not doing that, it doesn't, or if you're doing it and your wrists are getting tired, the muscles, whatever, has to acclimate, right? It has to acclimate. So even for a guy like Clem Burke and what he does, and we're going to take a look at what Clem Burke does in just a moment. He claims it's the hardest work I ever did in a band. They took the stage at the Living Room on August 28th, 1987, with very little rehearsal. And you can hear a fan recording of the night right here. So we're going to listen to that fan recording in just a minute. We haven't done this song since Richie left, Joey told the crowd before. I don't care. Well, he didn't leave. He sucks. I don't know who said that. So, but it was Elvis Ramone that proved to be a problem that night. It was a disaster, Johnny said. His drumming style wasn't right. It was very loose, like in Blondie, not as rigid as we need. Double time on the hi-hat was totally alien to him. So even though Clem Burke is Clem Burke, double time on the hi-hat is alien to him. It just does not. I said this very recently to somebody who I will not name. I'll leave it a mystery, talking about Tommy Ramone and how Tommy Ramone and inventing the Ramones drum style. I mean, this is a guitar player who's never played the drums before. So he's just doing something. Here's what I sort of, in my imagination, when I kind of try to like think about the practicality of what Tommy was doing. And I've heard from very reliable insiders who are experts on this subject matter say that, oh, Tommy was trying to lock the band together. I'm sure Tommy has said that in interviews and yada, yada, yada. But here's a hot take. Maybe on some level, Tommy as a guitar player is like, I'm going to play something that I would want as a guitar player. So he's not thinking about it from a drumming perspective. He's coming at it from like, if I was in front of the stage playing as a singer guitar player, I'm going to, double time on the high. Like that's where he's coming from. Maybe. Right. So he's inventing this style that knocks every drummer that comes into the band, knocks them for a loop in some way, shape, or form. The Ramones had 3 drummers, right? 3 drummers after Tommy, 4 drummers on all. So Johnny said it was a disaster and that is why. They played one more show with Elvis Ramone the next night in Trenton, New Jersey, but with a week off after it ended, they had time to gently, they use the word gently, fire him and find someone else. They wound up rehiring Marky Ramone since he had finally kicked his alcohol problem and was back in primo playing shape. He stuck around until their final gig in 1996. So they bring Marky back because Marky has the chemistry. Marky knows what to do and he knows the songs and, makes sense for that situation. Now, we've heard what, I mean, it's not like we're putting people on trial here, but let's hear what Clem Burke himself has to say elsewhere. This is from 4 months ago. Blondie's drummer reveals jaw-dropping secrets. So he's played, so here's a laundry list of who he's played with. Bob Dylan, Pete Townsend, Iggy Pop. I mean, he's played with a lot of greats, right? Yeah, see, Joel is repeating this. This is a myth, man. I have not seen anywhere that says that Burke couldn't keep up. And maybe he couldn't. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding. But like I said, I have not seen a single person say that he couldn't keep up, just that his drum style was different, right? So Joel, I don't, I mean, while it is not impossible, I have not seen anything to suggest that. And when you look at what Clem Burke is capable of doing, even if it takes some time to acclimate to the Ramones drum style, I just don't see how Clem Burke couldn't figure out how to wrench himself in. The reality is just his style didn't work. However, not all of Burke's memories are fond. He recalls his brief time with the Ramones under the moniker of Elvis Ramone with a sense of frustration, particularly due to his clashes with Johnny Ramone. Burke talks plainly, stating, I was asked to join the Ramones 4 times. So that's a detail that's left out of the other article. The Ramones really wanted Clem Burke, and they wanted Clem Burke for a reason, because Clem Burke is an amazing drummer. He asked to join the Ramones 4 times, and when I finally said yes, I made it clear that it wouldn't be forever. Johnny's guitar was just a means to an end for him, and I don't think he cared much about it. He refused to rehearse, so I had to figure things out on my own. So it sounds like Clem wasn't set up for success in any kind of way. And whether that was because maybe Johnny was upset that he had to ask Clem Burke 4 times to join the band, and Clem Burke, balked at it 4 times before finally saying yes. So he's like, all right, I don't, maybe he was raw about it. Who knows? Ramone's raw about it. Who knows, man? Who knows? But I feel like it's important to like bring that aspect of this too, that we're not just hearing what Johnny is saying about the situation, because it doesn't necessarily. Now it's time. Let us take a moment and actually hear what Elvis Ramone sounded like with the Ramones. So here is his first show at the Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island, from August 28th, 1987. Let's take a listen. I'm going to scrub around. I'm not going to talk while we're doing it. Joel says, I think he says it in the End of the Century documentary. I am almost positive it's not in there. I'm almost positive it's not in there, Joel. Joel, you might be right. I'm almost positive it's not in there, though. It's been a minute since I've watched it, but it's a documentary I've seen many times. All right, let's listen and hear how what Clem sounds like. Okay, so right off the bat, hearing Teenage Lobotomy, and I want to just listen to a couple more before I make my definitive thing. He's playing fine, right? Am I crazy? Like, here's the thing. He's asked on Monday. They have a gig on Friday. He learned all these songs. Let's see how many songs he learned. The dude learned 31 songs. He learned 31 songs in 4 or 5 days with minimal rehearsal involving Johnny, if that at all, right? Left to his own devices. And he didn't sound half bad. I mean, he's still jelly. I mean, it's his first show. Like, how could they possibly, how could such judgment come down from Johnny. I personally think that perhaps maybe, okay, here's my hot take. Here's another hot take for you. Maybe perhaps because of the tensions between Blondie's drummer and some other, there was some tensions between Johnny and Blondie in general previously, years prior. Maybe Johnny was reluctant to have Clem in the band. Maybe it annoyed him that Clem was going to be in the band, and maybe he made it difficult for Clem. Maybe he had his eyes set on Marky the whole time and was vetoed, right? And so they had to go with Clem. You know, the idea that Clem Burke couldn't, you know, handle the Ramones, especially after what we just heard, I call bullshit, man. I call bullshit. Let's listen to here. Let's scrub around in this a little bit longer. I mean, he sounds like he's playing it pretty straight to me. He's playing it straightforward. He's not doing anything fancy. Maybe his tempo is off. Maybe he is a little slow. He's acclimating, but I wouldn't say that he can't keep up. He's keeping up just fine, right? If anything, he's the one who's driving the whole fucking thing. Let's
Since Richie, well, he didn't leave, you know, he sucks. I don't care what you do.
So that was the moment that he was talking about in the article where Joey says that, and they were upset. I mean, they were upset that he left them hanging when they had the gigs. But it sounds like it was their own fault, man. They should have paid Richie, man. They should have paid Richie. Richie had done 5 years in the band. I mean, he earned his bones, man. I'm glad this recording is up, but I'm really annoyed that there's no links to the to jump around to take you to different. Okay. All right. Now the last piece that I want to go up, because to an extent, it's not like we're holding Richie, we're not holding Clem on trial, you know. But I really think it's the idea that he was ousted from the band simply because he couldn't keep up. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right. Who is this guy, Jared? He keeps talking about Casino Ramone. He's just going on and on, entertaining himself in the chat about the 45th anniversary this month. Casino Ramone. That's pretty funny. Casino Ramone, because they had no social life within the band. They would fix me up with an apartment. I think, you know what I think he's doing? I think there's some interview with this guy named Casino Ramone. He's just pasting it into the chat. That's what's happening. All right. The last thing I want to show you is a video that I cannot stop watching this video. It almost brings tears to my eyes. Like, I'm so overwhelmed watching Clem Burke drum. It's really his drumming, dude. Watch the mastery of Clem Burke on drums. So this is who the Ramones ousted for Marky. And ultimately, was that the right move? I mean, yeah, probably, in the sense that, like, Marky was meant to be in the Ramones, right? And he was meant to sort of carry on, supplying the backbeat. But like, Clem Burke is a master drummer. And this is from a live DVD. So this might get cut out at some point. So go seek this out if I do end up having to cut this out because it gets flagged or whatever. This is Blondie Dreaming from 1999, live in New York City. I think it was for a DVD release or something. Watch Clem Burke's drumming in this. The precision, the speed, the finesse, the energy. He is the heart of the band. I'm sure that the other members would agree. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. So the idea that Johnny Ramone, Johnny Ramone was a subpar, mediocre musician. Was he irreplaceable in the Ramones? Yeah, I mean, probably too. Like, there was no, I mean, he did a signature thing that he did really fucking well, right? And that was it. But not even Johnny Ramone was doing Ramone solos in the studio. He was giving them to Walter Lure. So the idea that a guy like that is saying, Clem, you can't keep up with us, you're out of the band. Him and Joey. It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous to me. So without further ado, and we'll end the show here. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Check out this. This is so breathtakingly beautiful. I mean, is that like how spectacular is that, man? I mean, that is something else. That is something else, dude. I mean, that dude is an insane drummer. I've watched that video now, like, I don't know how many times I've watched it. I've watched it a lot. And I watched it really just for Clem's drumming. Okay. So the idea that he couldn't cut it in the Ramones doesn't make any sense to me. So we've now delved into the rise and the fall with Elvis Ramone. He holds a small but important footnote in the Ramones history. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more Ramones on this channel in the near future. And I think if you like Ramones content, you're really going to be happy with what it is. So thank you for joining me tonight. Again, take a look at this guy, Jarrett, who's just copy and pasting this friggin' this Casino Ramone. I don't know what the fuck this is. This guy's hilarious. We'll see you real soon with another live show. Thank you. As always, peace, hair grease, perfect hour, perfect power hour, and we're out.